Okay, welcome to another mini video. Obviously this is the second lot of videos. I've already done the near side and I'm now on the off side, so I know pretty much what I'm going to have to do. This side is actually worse because I've got that lovely hole there in the floor, so I'm going to have to repair that front floor section which I've got. Actually the floor section I've got goes past the cross member, which is where those two holes are. Then I'm going to have to do all of this horrible oversill. Again, that is absolutely horrid. And you can see actually some more repairs here. So the panel I've got there will go right down to here. And then I'm also probably going to have to do something with the heel board because there's a plate welded on here. Something to do with that floor there, and maybe even a bit more there. Then at the end of it all, I will be putting back a proper outer sill, which is approximately half the distance down to about there. So the first part of the job is to strip out all of that old oversill and see what's underneath there, and potentially even cut out that front section of floor. Now I have got a time-lapse camera running again. It didn't work first time I tried it, so I'm going to try it again this time. So we'll see how it goes. So that is the oversill cut off, and as you can see it did a fantastic job of trapping water. So all of this lot is fairly rusty. It doesn't really matter, I've got a repair panel for that, but I will just point out a few things. If you're doing one of these cars, you really want to not do things like this, you know, put a repair panel on the inside over top of the rust. That's probably over top of the rust. That is actually the remains of the jacking point, so not a lot there. Fairly nasty at that front end, but I knew that already. And at the other end, so worth pointing out the bit in the middle there, seatbelt mount, that should obviously be very secure. And at this end, where the rear subframe mounts, and there, it's looking fairly bad. And again, all that oversill just hid all of that. That hole is actually inside the what they call the pannier, the little cubby hole beside the rear seat. So it's quite well hidden. So yeah, not looking too good, but I've got all the panels, so it's just a bit of time. So what I'm going to do next is just look at how much for the front floor section covers, the repair panel that is, and just see what I'm going to cut off there, because I'm going to tackle that next. So I've quickly cut around there, down the side of where the cross member is, along the floor and up just in front of where the bulkhead is. But what I've found is obviously there's still a little bit holding on some of the spot welds. You can see some are loose, as those ones are, but also I had to cut around that bit because there's spot welds underneath that section there, but because it's all rusty you can't see where the spot welds are. So I'm going to just break the rest of these spot welds off, and then that floor section will be free. Okay, like usual, I've missed a few steps here. That floor section is now out, and I ended up getting rid of this section. That was quite awkward. You can see where I've used the grinder as opposed to where I've drilled the spot welds out. Also, I've drilled all the way along the step and pulled away the seam there. There's a few bits, odds and sods left on there, but that's not too bad. It really was this area up here that was awkward because it had the remains of the jacking point and a repair panel as well. So that is all clear. There's one section of the step that did cause a bit of a problem. That's that bit there, so rusty and so thin. So again, I'll have to repair that, but I knew I was going to have to repair quite a lot of this step due to the holes. So the next bit for me is just to clean up this area down here, and then I'll be able to identify where the spots are, and as I've done on the front already, I'll be able to drill these spots out and get rid of the remains here. So a bit more progress today. It's actually been 2 weeks since the last video, so I'm a bit out of touch with where I am. But I have stripped all the old floor that was stuck down here. But in doing so I ended up with quite a lot of damage around this area, which is part of the bulkhead. So I wanted to repair that first before I got the floor back in. So I've made a little repair which will go on there. What is worth noting is that the bulkhead is actually thicker material more metal than the rest of the panels. This is actually 1.25 millimeters. I don't know what that is in gauge, but it is 1.25 mil. The other thing I want to point out is the cross member. When you remove the floor from the cross member, what you will find is it will spring open a bit, and I've put the old section of floor that actually was the bit that was there, so I can see where these spot welds were drilled out, and you can actually see how much that has sprung out. So I'm actually going to stick or weld just a plate above there to keep it in the right position. I had this problem on the other side, and yeah, it caused me quite a lot of grief getting that all back in line again. So they're my little tasks now. Repair the bulkhead and put a little strip across there, and then I need to do a bit of repairs up here. So I've had another good couple of hours. I should have probably done a video in between this and the last one, but there you go. As you can see, I've done quite a bit of tacking of the floor. I haven't gone mental, and there's a reason for that. Once you've tacked this side, as I have, then you want to go in to the car and make sure that cross member is sitting correctly. And you can see this weld here and a few down here. That's where the cross member has been tacked into the floor. And that's looking quite good on the inside. And so I can do a bit more welding at the front here. I've done a few of the pull welds down here, but I can see the panel's not quite into this corner here, so I'm going to use a blunt and chisel just to knock the floor pan into that corner, and then hopefully that should line up some of these pull welds on this bulkhead here. So that's my next stage. Loads and loads of welding. So I have done most of the welding now. I'll just zoom in so you can see what it looks like. That's what I've aimed to achieve, and with the weld like that, there shouldn't be much cleanup required. Now, I haven't done hardly any welding where it joins onto the original floor. That's because I've got to do the rest of the floor all the way along to the back, and I've still got a few welds down this corner here. But otherwise it's gone really well. So the next job for me is to sort out all of this. Now this panel was a bit long, so I've got to do a bit of trimming down and get that to fit nicely around that corner. Right, so I've finished doing all the welding on this side. There's still some welding to do on the inside of the car, but that's all I'm going to do for this video. I have cleaned up some of the welds a bit. This area at the front was really quite awkward. The panel that I put on the front was quite a bad fit at the bottom, and the floor panel actually ran out of curb. You can see there's an angle there, and then it was literally straight at the bottom. It shouldn't be, so that took a bit of bashing to get that to line up. But that is it for this video. I hope you've enjoyed this. The time-lapse worked really well, and that will be for a different video. But yeah, I hope you've enjoyed it, and if you have enjoyed it, please subscribe.